Another reason why I chose Lasell was the proximity to the city, but not being in the city. So Lasell is located 8 miles out from downtown Boston. So you're not in the city, but you're really close to it. We actually are in between 2 different T stops. So it's super easy to get onto the T and then just go directly into Boston. It's like a 30 to 45-minute T ride, which is really nice. And it's also just a 10-minute walk from anywhere on campus. So super easy transportation to get into the city. Another reason why I chose Lasell was our philosophy of connected learning. Basically what that means is that within your guys' 4 years with us, we don't want you to be reading out a textbook and just taking tests, because we don't think that's going to prepare you to be an educator someday, or that's not going to prepare you to be a lawyer or to be a nurse, or whatever it is that you guys kind of have as an idea that you want to do career-wise. Just reading about it doesn't necessarily cut it, nor is that really going to show you, like, yes, you're going to love teaching, but how are you going to know if you love teaching if you're never in a classroom? So our philosophy is to be super hands-on. And I can kind of give you examples for a bunch of different things like that, but do you guys have any idea what you're kind of looking at? And it's okay if you don't, you guys are starting early, so you're good.
I'm looking into like athletic directing and like sports management.
Ooh, love that. Okay, that's huge. Yeah, that's huge.
I'm so little, but like the majors that I'm really interested in is criminal justice, because I literally love to like solving crimes as a kid. So my parents were like, you should get this guy, and I was like, I don't know. But then I'm also interested in nursing, but I'm in between like those 2 things.
Okay, awesome. So I'll give you some examples for those specific ones, and then I'll just give you some other ones just in case any of those pique your interest. So we've seen a huge uptick in criminal justice and forensic science. I blame TV shows like Bones and NCIS and Criminal Minds. So absolutely. So the example for connected learning for those majors is that we actually have a classroom that's just set up as a crime scene. So those students actually have to go in, they have to try and figure out what happened, they have to brush for fingerprints, they have to look for DNA, take it back to the labs, run testing. For someone who loves those TV shows, I'm like, heck yeah, sign me up. Like, that sounds amazing. We also have our very own campus police, so a lot of our students will actually shadow our very own police officers. A lot of students will go and work with, Boston PD, or even just the other surrounding areas. Again, super hands-on. How are you going to know if you want to be a police officer someday if you don't know what they're actually doing? We have a lot of sports fans on our campus because we are so close to Boston. So we have a lot of students who go into sport management, or they go into sports communication, or they go into like exercise science as well. So that's kind of the realm that you would want to go into. We require all of our students to do at least 1 internship before graduating. Can't graduate without it. Because it is a requirement, we will handhold you the entire way. We're not expecting all high schoolers to know how to go and get an internship. So before you get that internship, you're actually going to take a class where you brush up on your resume, cover letter, interview questions. They'll do a mock interview where you're actually videotaped. It's absolutely terrifying. I was sweating buckets during mine, but it was so helpful, because I never realized that when I was nervous, I used to just do this. And I would just talk and I would just do this and play with my hair, which is like something you don't want to necessarily do in an interview. Some students would their leg would be vibrating like crazy, or they'd be like cracking their knuckles. Things you just don't know that you do until you see like a video recording of it. So super helpful. And the reason why I'm talking about internships is because when it comes to wanting to be maybe an athletic director someday or something in that realm, those internships are a great way to kind of figure that out and see if you're really going to like it. So we have students who intern with all of our major sports teams, all of the D1 schools in the area, all of the D2 schools. We have students who go to Harvard and they shadow the athletic director for a whole semester. So that's a really great way for you to kind of tell, hey, do I like this, or do I kind of want to explore something else? We have students who, again, intern with the Boston PD or intern with Newton Police, or whatever you want to kind of intern with, that's what you can go and get internships at. Other examples of connected learning for our fashion majors, as I was explaining to her earlier, we have a fashion show every single year. So our fashion majors are actually working the entire school year to build up to that fashion show, whether they are physically hand making the clothing for the models, whether they're behind the scenes and they're like organizing the entire event, or if they're the ones who are promoting it. By the time our fashion students graduate, they have 4 fashion shows that they can add to their resume. So that's huge for the fashion world. say you are interested in becoming an educator, you want to be a teacher someday. We put our education students in a classroom setting as early as freshman year, second semester. So again, back to connected learning. How are you going to know if you like working with kids if you don't actually work with kids? So we really, whatever major you guys go into, we really want to throw you in there to make sure it's something you're going to really be passionate about and that you're going to love doing for the rest of your life, basically. And we have a lot of students who freshman year, you know, they go into biology or they go into forensic science and they're like, you know what, I really don't like blood that much. Like, maybe I shouldn't be in this field. And that's okay. We have a lot of students who change their mind, but that's our entire goal, is to catch it early on, so that way we can find something that you do really like doing. We are a smaller school, and so we have around 1,800 undergraduate students. You know, that's really small compared to some of our nearby competitors that have, you know, 15,000 plus students. One of the huge benefits to a smaller school are those smaller classroom sizes. We cap our classes at 25. Honestly, you're really looking at like 15 to 18 students to a class. With those smaller classroom sizes, you get that one-on-one personal relationship with your professors. Your professors are going to be the biggest networking tool during your career in college, but then also afterwards as well. If you're in a huge lecture hall with 100 plus students, it's going to be really, really hard to have that personal relationship with your professors. Not impossible, but definitely not nearly as easy when there's only 18 of you. Our professors, no matter what field they're in, they honestly give our students 110%. And if our students are willing to kind of give back the same energy and the same percentage, there's no way you're not going to go off and do great things. Because they're able to really get to know who you guys are, they can know, you know, what your future, you know, career goals are. You can ask them questions like, hey, I'm interested in this. How do I get there? Can you get me there? Do you know someone? Like, you're able to really kind of build that relationship with them. A lot of our students don't look at our professors as professors. They're more like colleagues that they kind of work with. So it's a really, really nice atmosphere with your professor. And same with your, you know, your other students in the class as well. Again, it's really, really easy to get to know people on campus. I couldn't walk to a single class without someone saying hi or smiling or asking how I was doing or knowing my name. And that was kind of the atmosphere that I personally enjoyed thriving in. You know, I didn't want to be just another face in a crowd. I like having people that know me, and I like knowing people. And that's kind of the atmosphere on campus as well. Are you guys interested in sports at all? Yeah, what do you play?
No. How's your cheerleading? Do you have a cheerleading?
So it's not a varsity team, so it's
Yeah.
not like you would be committing as a Division III athlete, but we do have a cheerleading club. They do compete, and they also do perform at a bunch of different sporting events, so it definitely is fun and it is active as well. And that's definitely a fun thing that a lot of students join.
Softball?
We do have softball. So softball is one of our varsity sports, so if you were interested, we are Division III. Basically what that means is that there's no sports scholarships, but there are academic scholarships. It also means that, say your GPA starts to drop, you're gonna stop going to those, you know, practices and games until you can get that GPA back up. That's the beautiful thing about Division III, is that if you know you're not gonna make it professional, you know, anytime soon, you know you're not gonna go to the Olympics, but you just love, love, love playing a sport, then Division III is the perfect division, because you're really focusing on that career first and foremost, but you get to kick some butt on the side and play the sport that you love. So that's why I think Division III is like the perfect division for people who kind of have that same mentality. It's never too late or too early to start getting recruited. So if you want, I do have the business card for the softball coach. If you want to take a picture of it, reach out and just get on her radar. The nice thing about Division III as well is that there are tryouts every single year. So say freshman year you want to come in, you're like, I don't know how hard it's going to be, I don't really want to commit to being an athlete just yet. You can kind of observe your first year, and then you can always try out sophomore year as well. But say you want to just go for it, that's totally fine too. Definitely reach out to the head coach and get on their radar. They love bringing recruits on campus, so you can meet the team, watch them play some games. That way you can kind of get a feel for, you know, what it's like. You know, say you don't want to commit to being a Division III athlete, we do have other clubs though, like cheerleading. We also have a step team, a dance team. The dance team is also a little bit more competitive. They do competition on the side. Other sports kind of related clubs, we have bubble soccer, which is honestly my favorite. I think it's hilarious. You're inside that huge plastic bubble and you like bang into each other. People do 360s all the time. It's so funny. Intramural basketball is always super funny as well because you have our actual basketball players who are like 6'4", and then you have like these like little 5'2" shorties who are like trying to play, and it's just, the combination is just awful sometimes. It's really funny. We have cornhole as a club. We have 3 versus 3 ice hockey during the winter as a club. We have tennis during the warmer seasons. Even ping pong as a club, that one's always funny. Rugby is probably our most competitive club on campus. They have games pretty much every weekend, which is really cool, so that's just another fun event to go to. I don't understand rugby whatsoever, but it is what it is. And then some of our other more normal clubs that are super popular. Outdoor Adventure Club was my favorite club when I was in college. We did things like paintballing, whitewater river rafting, rock climbing. We did a ski trip every single winter.
Ski trip?
Yeah, oh yeah. We go to we went to...
That's necessary, okay, that is very necessary.
We went to Vermont and New Hampshire usually are the mountains that we go to.
Perfect, too.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God, they were
So pretty. Yeah, so Outdoor Adventure Club was probably my favorite. We have a really big LGBTQ plus community. We have a really big radio show club. So we have our very own TV station, kind of similar to this, kind of same equipment stuff, and then we have our very own radio station as well. You do not have to be just a sports comm major to be a part of it. It's probably one of our bigger clubs on campus because students love ranting about the Red Sox for 2 hours a day, or they have an amazing playlist and they want to have everyone else hear it, so that's a really fun one. Theater is also a huge club on campus. I used to go to every single show because they're just that talented and that amazing. But clubs can also be a great thing when it comes to your major as well. You know, we have a lot of clubs that are specific towards majors. So there is a club that is related to, criminal justice, and that's something that you can add to a resume, because a lot of those clubs that are major related, they do a lot of field trips, and they do a lot of networking, and they do a lot of things that are going to be helpful for you, and just again determining, yes, this is exactly where I want to be, or maybe not, and that's okay. When it comes to housing, so you're guaranteed housing for all 4 years, which I would assume from this distance, you guys would probably not want to be commuters. Housing, there's 2 different options. So there's traditional style dorms, which are kind of like what you see in TV shows and movies. They're kind of the taller buildings, long hallways. Yeah, and they're, they differ, they can be triples, they can be hotel style, where it's 2 people, connected bathroom, 2 people. Or they can be apartment style, which apartment style is probably the favorite of students. It's where you have 2 doubles, you have 2 singles, and then you have your own living room and own kitchenette. So it's literally like living in an apartment with your 5 best friends.
That's perfect.
Yeah, so that's super fun. The other style of housing is our Victorian homes. So they're absolutely beautiful. They are historic. Because they're historic, we can't just knock them all down and make them look the same. So every single room, every single building is unique, and it's the same basically to when it was built. You can have houses that have beautiful wooden spiral staircases. You can have a room that has a beautiful fire mantelpiece that students then use as like a makeup stand or TV stand. You can have your own private balcony. You could have a private restroom. Or my favorite, you could have what used to be a giant pantry for a kitchen, but is now a walk-in closet. So the rooms, the Victorian homes are so amazing, and students love living in them because they just give you a kind of a different vibe and a different feeling. A lot of the houses are smaller as well, so a lot of students who live in houses, they'll have Sunday dinners where the entire house goes to the kitchen, they make dinners, and they all hang out together. You can't necessarily do that when you're in a traditional style dorm because there's like 100+ students. So it's a little harder to do that. So that's why, I personally lived in a traditional style dorm my 4 years. I lived in an apartment style. That was my favorite. That was my jam. But I had friends who lived in a house all 4 years because that's exactly what they loved doing. So you can kind of pick and choose, which is nice. I'm trying to think what other things. Do you guys want to hear about some activities on campus?
I was gonna ask, I didn't see Greek life. I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure there isn't Greek life here.
No Greek life.
Yeah, that's like my number one question on campus.
Are you looking for Greek life?
Not necessarily. It's just like interesting, right? Like,
Yeah.
Everyone's different.
No Greek life. I personally did not miss it at all. But that's just me, that's all I'll say. I personally just did not miss it at all. I didn't feel like I needed it. Greek life is great when you go to a bigger university because it's an amazing way to meet a lot of people. But again, at a smaller school like Lasell, it's not really necessary because you're going to meet so many people anyways. When it comes to activities on campus, we are right along the path for the Boston Marathon. So yesterday, the marathon actually ran directly by the school, so all of the students came out to support the runners, and then basically it's like a giant block party on campus, so you literally can't leave campus or get on it, so it's literally just the students. And they had a DJ, and they had a bunch of food and free swag, and they had a bunch of blow-up, bounce houses and stuff, so it was kind of like a huge party on campus. That's really fun. This year they also get 2 of those, so they're super lucky. They'll also have another one in April.
I was going to say, I saw it because I followed Boston College on like Instagram to keep up with like what goes around in Boston. And I did see the running, like they posted all about like the runners and stuff.
Yeah, like when I say it literally goes by the school, like it goes by the school. Like so many things are blocked off because you have to let them run by. But it's really cool. It's especially someone who, like me, I had never gone to a marathon before. To me, I hate running. I'm like, that's not anything I want to do. But really cool to have that option to go and actually support runners. We also have a bunch of professors who always run or students who always run, so it's really fun to go out there and support them as well. One of the bigger events on campus, and as lame as this sounds, is actually bingo. Our students love bingo, and it's because it's super competitive for the amazing prizes. Flat screen TVs, mini fridges, free massages, a bunch of concert tickets. A couple years ago, we had tickets for Kanye when he came to Boston, Lady Gaga, always sports tickets, so Celtics, Bruins, Pats, everything like that.
No wonder they're big bingo.
Oh yeah,
too.
The 4 years I was there, I never won. I never won a single, but I went to every single one because you bet I was trying to win something. But it gets super competitive. Nothing's more funny than seeing a bunch of college students like yell and scream at each other and like completely hate someone that just wins bingo because you didn't win. So it's so funny. But we always have things throughout the entire week and during the weekend. I'm from California. I wasn't going to go home on the weekends, so I needed stuff to always be happening on campus. So there was always something that I could enjoy. And say there was something happening that I didn't want to go to, I could literally hop on a T and I was in Boston in 35 minutes. So I always had stuff to do around me. We always do things like build your own succulents, build your own Build-A-Bear. When it comes closer to like final season, like finals, we always do something with dogs where you just sit in a room with a bunch of puppies and dogs and you just relax, and it's trying to get you to kind of relax before your final to kind of just calm yourself down. Amazing. I used to love those days. We bring musicians, we bring comedians, we bring hypnotists, we bring everyone on campus to come and do events on campus. So there's always something happening, which is really cool. We're not a suitcase school, so that's a term maybe you guys haven't heard just yet. Suitcase schools are basically like commuter schools where people pack up and leave on the weekends, or they're just never really on campus.
I don't know why you would do that. Like, you're finally at college, stay there.
Yeah, but some people, some people get to college and they're like, oh my god, I miss home, or they're homebodies and they don't really want to be in that environment. To each their own, but Laselle's not a suitcase school. 80% of students live on campus, so literally everything happens on campus, and that's where you want to be.
That's good.
All right, that was kind of a lot of information.
It was awesome.
Any questions before I kind of briefly talk about the application process?
With the dorms, like you were saying like the houses and apartment style, does it vary like with money? Like does it get like?
So it's definitely, it's not like a huge difference. It's a couple $100 more if you want like a single. That would probably be the most expensive thing, is getting a single. And I think it's like, it raises a little bit when you want the apartment style. But generally, like, it's usually juniors and seniors who end up, snatching that anyways. But it's nothing crazy. It's not like it's going to be $5,000 more.
Okay.
It's like just a slight difference for those ones. And singles would probably be the most.
That's usually how it is though.
Yeah, the singles are definitely the most. When it comes to applications, so it's free to apply. Something I always tell my students, and especially for you guys since you're starting off early, don't let the sticker price of an institution scare you away from applying. So no matter where you guys are looking at, if it's BU, if it's Harvard, whatever, if it's, you know, especially if it's free to apply, you're not wasting anything but maybe 10, 15 minutes of your time to just do the application. You never know what you're going to get for a scholarship from the school, and you never know what you're going to get from the FAFSA as well. So just keep that in mind as just like a friendly pro tip for wherever you guys are kind of looking at. When it comes to Lasell, it is free to apply. All we need is your transcript, at least one letter of recommendation. If you want to send us 2, 3, 4, 5, we'll read them all, and then your essay. We do not have a specific prompt for the essay. We like to leave that up to the students and your creativity. I've had students send me poems. I've had students send me short stories. So again, kind of whatever you think is going to kind of catch our eye or really show us, you know, who you are as a person or a student. Once you apply, you are automatically reviewed for our Lasell University Award. That award can be up to $30,000 per year. And it's a holistic view of the entire application, so it's not purely merit, so it's not based just on your GPA. That award, so say you get $25,000 out of the $30,000 for that award, you're going to get $25,000 freshman year, again sophomore, again junior, again senior. So it's not just a one-time payment, and we're saying, hey, divide that by 4 years, because that would not be a lot. So that's huge. Our sticker price is $58,500, but when you get close to that $30,000, that already cuts it more than in half. So that's huge. And again, it's kind of based on a different bunch of things in your application. GPA does definitely take, you know, it is looked at, but again, it's not the end-all be-all. Say you do have a really nice GPA, like a 3.5 or above, there is a presidential award that's also given out to those students. That is nice. You know, if you do have a really great GPA like that, definitely keep it up, because then you also get an additional merit award.
So let's say your GPA is in the 4 range.
Lovely. Love that. Keep that up. Yeah, you would then be offered the presidential award.
Okay.
The presidential award won't come until way later, and this is for a lot of schools. It won't come until you have your official transcript sent in, just so that the school can be like, okay, your official GPA was 4.1. Cool, now we can send you that award. But when you get your acceptance letter, you also get your Lasell University award. So you get to see that like right away. And then usually what happens is after you get your acceptance, about a week or 2 later, then the financial planning office will then send you that packet, and that's usually like a hard estimate of, okay, this is what you're looking at for out-of-pocket price. And then from there, you can decide, do you want to take out loans? Do you want to do a bunch of outside scholarships? Whatever you need to do to kind of, you know, make up that gap, if there even is a gap. We do not meet 100% need, so that does mean that there is going to be some type of out-of-pocket price. But I've seen students have a $500 cost every semester, which is $1,000 a year, which for a lot of people, you know, they're like, okay, cool, that's a good gap. It really just depends. Always do the FAFSA if you're able. It opens up October 1st, so you can fill it out now with your families. That's also huge. You never know what you're going to get from that as well. Another pro tip, you can always appeal. No matter what school you go to, if something doesn't look right financially, you can always appeal to the financial aid office. What happens is that they will then look at it themselves, and they will determine if there's something else that they can do to assist you. A lot of schools have money left over that is used for appeal processes, so more than likely they'll be able to give you something else in assistance, so just keep that in mind as well. Okay? Any questions about the application or about the Lasell University Award? It's based on a full-time residential student, which is probably what you guys would be, and you keep that award as long as you stay in good academic standing, which is basically like a 2.0 or above, which if you are a student athlete, you're going to have to stay in that anyways.
Yeah. Are you test optional?
Oh, heck yeah. Yep, test optional. We don't like to look at students as just a number on a piece of paper. So that's why we've been test optional for many, many years. If you have a great GPA, amazing, keep that up, but please know that that's not the end-all be-all for us, at least. I've accepted students who have had very, very bad GPAs purely because from their application, I was able to tell that they were a good person and they were a good student, they just had maybe a hard year or they've just made some mistakes along the way. Like, you guys are young, you guys are also human, so mistakes are, something that's gonna happen. So just because you have a lower GPA does not mean that you're not gonna get accepted into Lasell. Because again, really, really look at your letters of recommendation, which are huge. If your guidance counselor is like, oh yeah, they had a tough sophomore year, but they're an outstanding student, like, you would be stupid to not accept them, I take that into account. And if your essay is great as well, and it's like, hey, you know what, I lost a loved one sophomore year. Academics wasn't my number one priority, my family was. Like, to me, I'm like, yeah, that makes sense, right? Like, why would that not make sense? So we really try to look at you as not a number on a piece of paper. I'm not saying don't focus on your GPA, because a lot of schools will look at just your GPA, so it is always great to kind of keep that up, but it is not the end-all be-all for us, at least. And if you're someone like me who sucks at taking tests, it's really nice to not have that SAT kind of be like lingering above you. I took the SAT 3 times and got below average every single time. But I was an AP honors student my entire high school career. So it really sucked having schools deny me purely because of that SAT score when they missed out on a great student. So I'm a really, really big believer that SAT does not mean anything.
Especially like the AP test that you take, you could I nailed that.
Yeah.
Sophomore year. And then the test came and I got a 1. I was like, are you kidding?
Yeah.
I thought I was doing so good. And I was like, I did horrible.
I think a lot of schools are leaning more towards getting rid of the test option, like doing the test optional, because I think they're realizing that it really isn't a true, determination of who you are as a student. But there definitely are still universities out there that require it.
The
So.
pressure those tests give you is
Oh, it's insane.
phenomenal.
Oh yeah, my anxiety level was like through the roof for those 3 times I
That's
took
me
it.
tomorrow. The PSATs are tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm not ready for that.
You got this, guys. I believe. Well, any other questions, guys? You guys are great. I really appreciate you guys coming out and joining. You guys have my information, my business card. I am your admissions counselor, so if you guys end up applying, in a year, I will be the one who's reading your application, which I'm so excited about. And just know that it's my job to help you guys through this process, so don't ever feel like you're annoying me. Don't ever feel like you're asking too many questions. I have students who will text me at like 10:30 p.m. I won't respond at that time. I will more than likely be already asleep, but I will always text you back whenever I can. So always please feel free to reach out with questions.
I was just wondering about the business card for the softball coach.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And if you guys have any other questions while I'm getting this, please feel free.
How's your cafeteria? How's your food?
Ooh, that's
Oh, good question. Yeah, so we have a main dining hall. Basically what happens is that you get a Lasell University card. That card's kind of like the holy grail. It gets you into like your building and like other academic buildings and the dining hall. Once you swipe once, it's buffet style, so then you can eat as much as you want. It's not like you have to swipe at every station to get food. Once you're in, you're golden. Honestly, you could stay in there from breakfast and never swipe again and be there until dinner. No one's gonna kick you out or anything. So that's really nice. I personally thought that they had plenty of stuff. I'm a picky eater. I'm pretty basic when it comes to food. I don't like spices. I don't like a crazy amount of stuff. I'm pretty simple. And I always found stuff for me. They always have pasta, always have a salad, sandwich, breakfast bar, ice cream station, and a grill. The grill does stuff like hamburgers, hot dogs, french fries, curly fries, grilled chicken, quesadillas, nachos, kind of like a mix between like American and Mexican style food. And then there's a home style station. The home style station always changes, so that way you're always getting something new. You're not gonna be bored. I always thought the home style station was like something like my mom would make me or something. So it was always some type of meat and then always some type of side or always some type of pasta or vegetable or something to go with it. We do have a completely allergen-free station as well. So if you are allergic to the top 8 different things, whether that's gluten, dairy, nuts, or anything like that, we have a station that's 100% free of all those allergens. So students know that they can be safe going there and getting food. But every station has a card that has all the ingredients listed as well, so students who do have allergens can always make sure to read all the ingredients before choosing something. The dining hall does a great job of keeping it interesting. Halloween time, they always decorate, and they always dye their food like creepy colors. It doesn't taste any different, but they just like do it for Halloween. So stuff is like bleeding or stuff is like black when it shouldn't be. They always decorate too with creepy stuff. When it comes to like the Oscars, they always roll out a red carpet, and they usually do like a fancier dinner, so it's like ribs and steak and shrimp. When it's like Chinese New Year, they just have like a crap load of Chinese food, which is my favorite. I love Chinese food. So they always like to do things based on holidays or different like traditions and stuff, which is really nice. We then have our own Starbucks on campus, and then we have
Starbucks on campus.
oh yeah, yep.
Imani, they're selling me.
And then we have a late night dining option as well, which again is kind of like grilled food, so it's like American/Mexican food. And then we have a 24-hour market as well, so when even our late dining option is closed, there's still some place where you can get food on campus. And it's also just like a little market where you can get like, oh, you forgot like eggs and you're gonna bake brownies, you can go get eggs. Or oh, I forgot like shampoo, oh, you can go buy shampoo. So that's nice as well. But yeah, they're really great about taking students' opinions. Again, because we're a smaller school, you always have a voice on campus, no matter what department it's in. So we have a little section where students write on a napkin, and they can say, hey, like, I want corn on the cob. And then they'll respond back and be like, corn on the cob coming Friday. Or I know when I was a student, I was like, hey, like, I never see chocolate chip cookie dough ice cream, like, can we get some of this? And then they wrote on it, and they're like, next week on Wednesday, we'll have chocolate chip cookie dough ice cream for you, like, come and get it. So it's really nice, because if you have suggestions, or even if you have concerns, if you're like, hey, like, my chicken was undercooked, and they'll be like, holy crap, like, we're gonna double check this or something. Whatever it is, they're really good about listening to students. And again, that's kind of in every department that you're in at Lasell.
What time is like it open? Let's put it that way, like from
The dining hall?
Yeah.
So the dining hall is open from 7 a.m. to I think 8:30 p.m. And then when it closes at 8:30 p.m., that's when the late night dining option opens. So that opens, the late night dining option, which is in a different building, opens at 8:30 and then goes till about 12-ish.
It's like perfect if you're studying and you just like miss.
Yeah, and then say you're like, you wake up or you're still studying until like 2 a.m. and you have that market that you can go to and just get some snack stuff as well.
You guys have sushi?
So during special events and stuff, the dining hall will have sushi. I've definitely seen it on just random occasions as well. Personally, I'm not a huge sushi person, so I've never tried it, so I can't tell you how good it is or not. We do have a stir-fry station, so the stir-fry station always has kind of an Asian flair to it, so that's definitely the station that sometimes puts out sushi. But the stir-fry station used to be my favorite because I would just give them teriyaki, give them a bunch of grilled vegetables, and they would cook it right there for you and then hand it back, which is really nice.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, well, any other questions, guys?
No, it's pretty much it. Imani, you got anything?
Do you guys have a abroad program?
Oh, God, yeah, great questions. We do. We have partnerships in over 80 different countries. So hopefully if you have a country in mind, we have it. Don't be alarmed though. We've had students come up and they'd be like, oh, I want to go to this super specific part of China. And they were like, oh, like we don't have a school there. They will get a school and they will build a program for it. Sometimes there's definitely some schools that students go to based on their major, but you don't have to. So we don't have a major that's specific for each country, but like fashion students, they always go to Rome, they always go to Paris, they always go to London, because that's where we have 3 huge partnerships with fashion schools. But say you're like criminal justice or health sciences, you can kind of go wherever, which is nice. That's kind of something that you just go and talk to the study abroad program. They give you a bunch of brochures for a bunch of different schools. Then you kind of narrow down to like what country you want. And then they kind of help you decide, what classes can and can't like flip over. They walk you through the entire thing. But a lot of students study abroad. Say you don't want to commit to, 4 months abroad, then we do have shoulder-to-shoulder trips. So those go to Tanzania and Vietnam. And those are community service based. So those are really fun for students as well. It's about 2 weeks long in that different country. And then we do have alternative spring break trips. Those are also community service based, but those stay in the US. So pre-COVID, our last community service trips went to Texas and Louisiana, and they spent a week and they just did like hurricane relief. And then we do have another spring break trip that is purely just fun, where you just go and you just travel around Europe and you just sightsee. Yeah, so a lot of different options for traveling.
I'm still hooked on your ski trip.
Yeah, great. It is fun. That was probably a huge highlight. Honestly, my favorite time of the year was the fashion show because I used to model in it. So if you guys are interested in modeling as well, you can just get yourself a fashion buddy and they'll choose you and they'll make clothing fit to you perfectly, and it's so fun.
I'm
It's
too
great.
like, I can't stay serious, so I can never do that.
The serious face, like,
Yes, like
Well-
when you're walking down, you need to be serious, I can't.
There's a lot of different categories you can walk in. So there's some categories that are like 1960s bathing suits, and like those are the happier ones where girls are smiling and twirling and stuff, or there's like super serious ones. So it all depends. You could definitely be part of like a smiling one. But yeah, it's super, super fun. All right, well, thank you guys so much. I super appreciate it. I hope you guys have a great junior year. I hope it's as normal as possible. And hopefully senior year will be even better. But again, please reach out if you guys have any other questions, okay?